What's up, everybody? It is Coffee Break with Will Peterson and Jake Shapiro on this Friday afternoon. It is afternoon. It's 12:01. And is plenty to discuss in the world of Denver sports, including another late night thriller in Dallas, Jake. The Avalanche down 4-0 going into the third, left for dead. And all of a sudden you look up and it's 4-1 and it's 4-2. And then Georgiev goes to the bench, and Nichushkin gets his his seventh straight playoff game with a goal, and it's 4-3. The Stars commit a penalty, and the Avs have a 6-on-4. Were you thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to pull this off again?
Yeah, I turned it off at 4-0 to watch the hoops game because I'm keeping track of hoops for us, so while you're keeping track of hockey. So I was like, all right, I love the Avs. I'm going to watch this Avs game, and then I was like 4-0. I'm going back to hoops. I saw the score come in 4-2. I turned on the Avs and I'm like, oh man, these boys are buzzing. They're going to get at least one. They got the one. Then they get the power play late in the game. And I got buddies texting me who haven't watched hockey before. Like, are they allowed to pull their goalie when they already have a power play? I'm like, yeah, it's about to be a 6-on-4. They're going to do it. Like, I think they're going to do it. And, they came really close. They had a couple opportunities at the net, but Ottinger was awesome last night, made a bunch of big saves. And, you really regret or look back in retrospect and say, man, that offsides that didn't get called, that led to the penalty, that led to the goal, that really killed the Avalanche. But at the end of the day, 1-1, you got the split in Dallas. It would have been nice to go 2-0 up, but I think you're feeling pretty satisfied about the trip nonetheless.
All right, but let me ask you this then. Are the Avalanche playing with fire? Because they were down 3-0 in game one, and they came back and won 4-3. Frankly, they were really good coming back, but the first 10 minutes of overtime were not pretty. Georgiev was awesome. They got one breakaway, and to their credit, they capitalized, but they could have lost that game. And then last night, you're down 4-0. You get it to 4-3. I think we all thought, oh my gosh, they're going to get away. They're going to get away with this again, get it to 4-4, maybe win it 5-4 in overtime. Didn't happen. Stars score a 199-foot empty net goal from Esa Lindell to seal it 5-3 with 21 seconds left. Are they messing with fire? Because they're clearly the better team, but let's be honest. They played 45 minutes of bad hockey last night and then 15 minutes of really good hockey.
They've played maybe 35 minutes of good hockey in this series so far, something like that. Yeah, well, I don't think you can afford to go down consistently multiple goals in the playoffs and be reliant upon your awesome goal scoring to get you back, especially when Georgie is a little shaky in net, right? Like, you don't know when Georgie's going to make that one goal trailing 2 goals or 3 goals. It's you're playing with fire, as you said. I do like that last night. I think they played their worst game of the playoffs and they still almost came back and won. And on top of that, all the puck luck, all the calls went against them. And in hockey, it's not like basketball where it's like, maybe let's stretch out the bad calls or the luck over the course and let's deal with it and win all the games. And hockey, it's like, if it's going to happen, let it all happen at once and we're going to come back and win the next one. I think almost all the bad luck and almost all the bad calls that are going to come in this series may have come last night in game 2. So you've got to feel like some calls are coming your way, some bounces are coming your way, and the Avs are going to play a lot better. At least I think I know that the Avs are going to play a lot better. So 1-1 coming back to Denver, I think they're in really good shape. But as you said, Will, if they continue to start like this, I don't think they're in good shape. I just have confidence that this is not the team that we've seen all year long, especially at home where they've been fantastic.
Yeah, no, I think that's a totally fair point. And you mentioned the sloppy penalties. Let's get to that before we get to Devon Toews, because, Jake, they had too many men on the ice and 2 delay of game for hitting the puck out of play from in their own zone. That is 4 penalties, 8 total minutes of power play time for Dallas on silly, unavoidable penalties. That is the definition of sloppy, and we usually don't see sloppy from a Jared Bednar-led group.
Yeah, people say that touchback rule in the NFL on the fumble into the end zone is the worst rule in sports. It's actually the delay of game in hockey, because why is it any different than shooting the puck in towards the other end and it's icing? Why is it different? It just goes out of play. It doesn't make any sense to me why that's been a penalty for the last 15, 20 years. It's such a bad call. Either way, you can't do it. It's just a panic gas penalty that you take when you are tired, and it's a stupid penalty. The too many men stuff, the bad line changes. It's like, how is that happening in the Stanley Cup playoffs? Like, you're a good team. You're supposed to be cued in. And I know some of these, especially in the second period, these long line changes can be hard as someone who's done it, played hockey. But these are just mental mistakes that come when you're tired and when you're always hemmed in your own end and you're trying to get the puck out. I think it just speaks honestly to the dominance of the Stars in the first 40 minutes of the game last night, that the Avs had to make bad line changes, that they had to get the puck in any way possible out of their zone. So yeah, Will, it's bad stuff all around, but I think it again comes from the fact that the Stars are a way better team than what the Avalanche faced in the Jets in the first round.
Yeah, the Stars definitely forced them into some of those plays. I will give you that last night. But to see 4 power plays for, not slashing, not hooking, not roughing, but too many men on the ice and delay a game was just like, come on, guys. Like, let's get it together. I'm sure Jared Bednar, while the Avs are not practicing today, they will have a heck of a film session this afternoon once they land back in Denver. Try to clean those things up before Game 3 tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Ball Arena. Let's talk about the play of the game, though, maybe the controversy of the game. Devon Toews gets blown up by Jamie Benn, hit to the head. At least I saw a hit to the head. I think 99% of Avs fans saw a hit to the head. And they rule a 5-minute major on the ice. Okay, 5-minute major, good. The Avs are going to score 2-3 goals on 5-minute majors. That's what you do. The penalty fits the crime. Suspend Ben. Get him out of here. He's a dirty cheapskate. All of a sudden, we go to the review center. No penalty at all. A stunning development. I see a lot of rules experts try to explain to me why the hit's legal. I'd be curious your take, but it was a huge swing in momentum. I thought the Avs should have taken a charge at Ben, and they didn't. Toews luckily returned to the game, but man, his status is going to be to watch. A lot to unpack from this hit. If people haven't seen it, they can go read our Avs recap at denversports.com. The video is right there in the middle.
One, on your last point, I do think the Avs sent a message back to Dallas by making it a game. Like that's a better message than them trying to make a run at Ben. The fact that they can outplay you, like they played hockey instead of trying to out physical Dallas. So I thought that was quite a message sent by the Avs, is that we're never out of any game. So there's that part of it. The hit itself, it was called a 5-minute major on the ice so that they could review it. Similar to how they call things in the NFL touchdowns, so they have the opportunity to go back and look at it. That gets a little wonky in the NFL because they'll call it a touchdown and then they'll want to review it just because they called it a touchdown because they didn't really know. And then there's no replay angle to overturn it. So it was never really a touchdown to begin with, but they called it a touchdown for the review. In this case, I actually give credit for them to doing the 5-minute review and then saying, okay, we all think this wasn't a call. We're going to undo it. So the process of it was good. Like, let's get that straight. I thought the NHL process of it handled well. The hit itself, legal hit by the rules. Like, by the rule, principal point of contact to the collarbone, his feet were on the ice at the point of contact. Should it be a legal hit? No. It is a dirty hit by a historically dirty player with a lot of stuff on his rap sheet. He followed through into the head. And I don't think the only point of contact that matters is where you first contact the player. I think the entire process of the contact, and it was such a high hit, Will. And I know his feet were on the ice at the time of the hit, like the moment he started hitting him. But by the time he's still making contact with his head, he's off the ice. He's jumping. So that at any level of hockey that I grew up playing should have been a charging call or a boarding call. But because they can review it to the millisecond, it's not called a penalty because what it looks like on the replay is different than what it looks like in live time. And I want some common sense on these calls, Will, where we go, okay, let's watch this clip on live speed, not on 1000% replay review to see where it went. That's great when it might have touched a guy's finger going out of bounds in the NFL and the NBA. That does not work on hits in hockey.
Okay, but then walk me through this. So what you're telling me is, say you and I are playing hockey. I can hit you in the collarbone and then get you in the head for good measure, and that's legal? That's what you're telling me.
That's my understanding of the rule based off last night and all the rules experts that said. And I'm with you. It's mind blowing that that's a legal hit, but they know the rule books better than us will. And I think there is a giant gray area of first point, initial point, principal point of contact, and the entire contact. And the entire part of that contact needs to be considered. Let's just be clear. The Avs got very lucky last night that Devon Toews came back in that game and is going to hopefully be a part of their postseason the rest of the way, because that should have been a hit that knocked him out of multiple games.
Yeah, the final thought on this is if I'm Jared Bednar, I will just tell my guys in game 3, go hit Jamie Benn in the shoulder so it's legal, and then clock him in the head. Like, if they want to play that game, then we'll play that game. That may sound petty, but also, you know what? Hockey's a little barbaric, and that is kind of the way hockey polices itself.
And hopefully those guys hitting Jamie Benn are Yakov Trenin and, maybe even a Manson, but no one above that. Like if the Avs had lost Toews last night, that would have been huge. But if Ben had been suspended for the hit for an equal amount of time, that had been equally as huge for them. He's one of their leaders. He's one of their best players. But like you said, like I've been talking about, Ben historically for almost 10 years in the NHL has been known as a guy who hits people high, who explodes through to the elbow. It's just not a clean player. So it was of no surprise that Ben was the first person to do something in this series that really irked Avs fans.
Well, I hope he gets booed appropriately at Ball Arena tomorrow night. I'm sure he will. Let's flip it over to the Nuggets, the other team that plays at Ball Arena. Jake, it's quite simple. The Nuggets season is on the line tonight. No team has ever come back from down 3-0 in NBA history. If they lose, for all intents and purposes, the title defense is over. I'll just go macro, and then we can go more micro. Do the Nuggets have a shot tonight? Will they bring it? What was your experience at practice earlier this week?
After being in the locker room after game 2 and being around the guys, I got the sense that the series was over. And they were going to maybe be able to win one game to avoid the sweep. After being at practice this week, I got the sense that they were going to get swept. I think that their mentality is not in the correct place. I think they're completely outskilled, out-toughed, out-physicaled by this Wolves team. I don't like where the Nuggets are as a team. I think the injury issues are not being talked about enough because literally all 3 ball handlers the Nuggets have are having issues exploding off their feet right now, and that's a giant issue. But Will, the weird thing about this game tonight is the Wolves are only 4.5-point favorites. And I've been trying to figure this out now for a week of why it's only 4.5 when we've seen the Nuggets fail to score 100 twice now at home, and now they're going on the road. My only thing that I can guess is championship medal and the fact that this starting 5, while healthy, has only lost 3 games in a row once in the last 2 years. So it would be rare for the Nuggets to lose tonight just based off the history and how good this starting 5 is. But this looks like a different team than what it did maybe even just 4 weeks ago.
Well, okay. And you mentioned the injuries. So we got Reggie, Jamal, and KCP all listed as questionable. Do you expect all 3 of them to go? And then I've got a follow-up for you. Like I'm in a press.
Yeah, I'd be stunned if any of the 3 didn't go, Will. I think KCP might be facing maybe the biggest injury just because he looks like a shell of himself against Anthony Edwards. It doesn't even look like he's really impacting him at all. Jamal has no explosion. I think Jamal's doing more damage to the Nuggets than he is helping them at this point. But Jamal is not going to hold himself back. And clearly, based off game 2, Michael Malone is not going to hold Jamal back. And at this point, if Jamal doesn't go, you're going to play Reggie Jackson, who's also hurt 30 minutes, and then maybe get some minutes from Jalen Pickett. So there are no good options at this point for Michael Malone. And this comes back to the regular season where the GM wanted them to develop young players like Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, but also Jalen Pickett, Colin Gillespie, and Hunter Tyson. And they didn't do that. And now the Nuggets are in quite the bind, and they don't really have the option to go to Julian Strawther because they didn't really play Julian Strawther this year.
All right, so let's grasp at some straws then. We don't have to rehash the whole Shaq thing or the whole Jamal Murray press conference. Rachel has covered all those. But let's assume most of our viewers know what we're talking about. Can any of that be used as fuel? Can Jamal's reputation being turned upside down in the last 96 hours get used as fuel? Can Shaq actively disrespecting Jokic and hijacking the MVP announcement be used as fuel? Like, can this Nuggets team, for whatever reason, read the headlines that aren't pretty about them right now, not all puppies and roses like they were last year, and turn this into a bleep everyone else tour? And am I grasping, or is this a possibility?
Well, they did it last year, right, Will? They had all the fuel in the world, and it was all bleep everybody else because that's what Michael Malone was about. I just don't think that that's something that motivates reigning champions. I think the thing that might actually be able to turn the tides of this series and where the Nuggets are mentally is Jokic winning the MVP and them just having that moment and having like just the mental break of, we did something. And you know what? We're happy for our guy. And that's right. We do have the best player in the world. And the biggest thing the Nuggets need to do in game 3 and game 4 to try and maybe even get both or let alone split in Minnesota, it's just Nikola Jokic needs to be the best player on the floor in the next 2 games. And he hasn't been in this series. And it's not that he's been bad, so to speak. He's been fine. He just has not had the opportunity to be great because the way the Wolves are scheming and the Nuggets supporting cast hasn't been able to support him. So if the Nuggets supporting cast can support Jokic and he's able to go at Rudy one-on-one and really mess with the Wolves defense, then the Nuggets have themselves a series because they have one of the greatest players of all time on their team right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. Jokic has got to go into bleep you mode tonight. We're doing a lot of bleeps on a Coffee Break Friday. And once again, he's the best player in the world. And maybe that third MVP trophy, I like what you're saying. We'll give him and the rest of the guys a little nudge. And then Jamal Murray's got to go out there and shut everyone up because they aren't winning when Jamal shoots 6 for 23. Like, that just doesn't happen with this team. It's going to take a heroic Herculean effort from Jokic and Murray tonight, but that's what they're going to have to do with their backs against the wall. So with all that said, give me a prediction for tonight, Jake.
Yeah, I think it's going to get perhaps ugly again. I'm saying it's going to end up being like a 9-point loss, but it should probably be a little bit further than that. So I'm going to say something like 105 to 96 or something like that. I don't like where the Nuggets are at all. I don't like their depth. I love what the Wolves are. And the fact that the Wolves came in game 2 and beat the Nuggets the way they did without the 4-time defensive player of the year. It's like in hockey, Will, where, you know, during the regular season on a doubleheader or a back-to-back, or when you're playing a team in your division and you go in there and you start your backup goalie and you go, okay, if we win tonight, we just have these guys mentally bleeped, to use your bleeps. We just have these guys mentally bleeped because we beat them with the backup goalie. But if we lose, it's like, whatever. We had a backup goalie in net. The Wolves came in here and beat the Nuggets without the guy who has had the best season on their team and a historically good defender, and Rudy Gobert. That has just got to put the Nuggets in a spot where it's like, oh, now what? Now Rudy's back out there. Now what?
Yeah, they could be in trouble. I've got the Wolves 104-99. I think it would be symbolic for the Nuggets to finish with 99 because I think that would just be an extra gut punch after the way this series has gone, not to get to 100 for a third straight game. All right, let's finish with some fun news on a Friday. Travis Hunter, CU two-way star. He's a cover man, Jake. The new, not Madden, EA college game that everyone's all excited about. I know you're more of a gamer than I am, but I saw your story. Travis is front and right on the cover, one of 3 prominent players featured. Pretty cool honor for Travis Hunter. Let's be honest, this game has a lot of hype around it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pumped. I cannot wait to play this game. First time in over a decade, NCAA college football is coming back out. This is one of the biggest sports franchises for a long, long time. And for the Colorado Buffaloes to have that type of shine where their player is one of the 3 players featured most prominently on the cover of the most anticipated sports game, maybe in years, that's a really cool place to be. And, you know, I've been very, very critical of the Sanders, and they've deserved it, I think, over the last few months. But Travis Hunter has done no wrong. And Travis Hunter, every time he's been on the field, has been awesome. He should be a Heisman candidate this year. Should have been last year more seriously taken, even though he missed a month of the season because he played more snaps than anyone in college football last year, even though he missed all that time. So he's a top 5 receiver in the country, top 5 defensive back in the country, all in one. And he's a really special talent. And I cannot wait to watch him this fall. I also can't wait to play with him on the video game. And Will, the big note here is this was the deluxe edition of the game. So this is not the main cover, What the main cover will be is interesting because Travis had already announced that he was going to be in College Football 25. Shiloh Sanders has also announced he's going to be in College Football 25. Shedeur has not announced that, has not made that post like the other people. So I'm wondering, sitting back here, are they waiting to roll out Shedeur on the cover where he's going to announce? Because it'd seem weird if Travis was in the game, Shiloh was in the game, but Shedeur held out. So I'm wondering if Shedeur is going to get the main cover of this game.
All right, we will keep an eye on it. Travis Deluxe Edition is Shedeur to come on the main edition. Good stuff, Jake. Appreciate your time. Matt behind the scenes pushing all the buttons. I'm Will. Rachel will be back on Monday. Happy Friday. Go Nuggets. Go Avs. See you next time on Coffee Break.